All right, so hello everyone, and welcome to Improving Availability of Native Plants in New Brunswick. My name is Julie Cormier. I'm the Executive Director of Vision H2O. I will be your host for today. But you may see some of our partners that were responsible for the presentation of this discussion today.
So David will present his experience with native plants in his backyard. So David, go ahead.
Oh, yes, okay. Bonjour. Hello, people. I am honored to be here. It's all because of Julie. I think it's going to be a good show. We've just started. We're going to learn a lot today. Just want to say to Gary, I'm impressed with what he has done. My little industry I started in 96, 97. It's called Save a Native Plant. Now, I was just starting high school in 75, and I heard Jack Fenity talk about us failing on our New Brunswick report card. Now, going through the school system, I knew what a report card was, but I didn't know what native was. And I deal with the understory plants. I'm not there with the trees. I just don't have the room. It's just a little backyard nursery. I deal with the, as I stated, the understory plants. I deal with the relics. I worked with a few rarer plants. So I'm just doing basically what they're called perennials. So there was a question on schools. Somebody had asked, I had a wonderful opportunity to work with the Indigenous First Nation people at the we designed a medicine wheel on the UNB campus. I just supplied the plants to the children, and I just stood back and watched them go at it. So we both learned that day about what plants are used for. Now, I find with a lot of the Indigenous native people, they seem to be losing a little bit of their history, which is quite sad to me. There was another school that I was involved with. It was No Child Left Inside. It was to be a little plant out with students at the Keswick Ridge School. We had a minister of the government with us, and we had apple growers and teachers and little old me there, but it just didn't seem to root. Now, there are programs in Fredericton, but they just seem to just fade away, and I don't know the reason and or why. So to me, a native plant is pre-European. It's without any human intervention whatsoever. Now, my backyard, I deem them as native plants, but to me, they're not, because they've been started from seed. Now, I don't know if I can really, truly be honest with the audience here today that I'm growing native plants. It's just a term. It's, again, you could call them relics, heirloom plants, seeds. I brought seeds in from out of province. Now, to me, I'm overstepping my bounds. So you can charge me later with being either true or false. But again, it's just the beauty of what they represent to me. It's just getting on your knees and looking in and smelling and tasting the mud and scaring away great squirrels. I have a problem with squirrels in the town of Fredericton backyard. It's about a 3/4 acre property, and everything basically is done in plastic pots, and I have styroblocks, and I do a lot of things from seed. And anybody today who's going to start this nursery, get yourself what Thoreau would call a commonplace book. Make notes of what you do. And labels are very important. I don't know what I had for breakfast. I didn't write it down, and I've already forgotten. But write in your book what you have done. And the time of seed collecting is very important. If you collect too soon, you've lost your stock, you wasted your time. And if you're too late, the gray squirrels are going to walk off with it. And yes, Gary, I have a problem losing my I have bur oak trees, and I have a very hard time to collect those because of my enemies. But that's just a few on the, just picking up on the few of the comments. Sedge lawn would be very hard to do. You're going to have a lot of IPM and integrated pest management. You're going to have to keep your open ground clean from any bare ground is going to invite seeds of invasives. And I call some maple trees in this town invasive maples and dandelions. So it's a lot of work, I would think, to do a sedge lawn, but I've seen them and they're wonderful indeed. So I'm just going to start going on the, okay, yeah. So what I'm trying to create your own. I want to make it personal. I want to bring this down to a personal invitation to start your native gardens. I can't do what Gary's doing. I just can't have 4 acres or 40 acres going on. I just want to create something that you like to invite your friends in. It's an invitation into what has been pre-development. I want it to be it's a part of a larger ecosystem. I find no competition in this industry. If we are all into this together with Gary, and if there are a few more industries starting up, I spoke to a young lady who's going to start in Elgin, New Brunswick. I wish her all the best, and I'm open anytime for an invitation. I'm really cheap for travel, a cup of tea, and we'll talk about things. It works well. We can exchange seeds. So I'm just creating an NB yard. I'm bringing her again right down to what you like and what you specify in. So this is an entrance into my lower garden. This was once lawn. I drove my father-in-law's Pinto station wagon down and just removed a little bit of dogwood in the backyard. This was lawn. And this was again, 96, 97 is when we started putting spade into the earth. This is the stinking Benjamin, the plant on the right. This is our Trillium erectum and the Sanguinaria canadensis, the bloodroot. These both come very easy from seed. That Trillium on the right, it'll give you about 40 seeds. And they will all propagate. You'll have 100% propagation on that. No problem. The bloodroot, the sanguinaria, again, the indigenous people, the native people would use the root, the tuber, the rhizome in basket making. It will indicate that you've touched it because it will bleach, bad word to use, but it will show on your fingers. These are what we term as ephemerals, very early in the year. And last year, these bloomed very early. And I didn't get pollinators on a few of my little plants sitting in strata. I have different groups of these around the garden. So the south slope, it was exposed very early, and it was cold last spring. So I had no seed from on that particular set of plants. Again, just a close-up. Insect problem, I have none whatsoever. But again, sowing out seed, it's that ubiquitous gray squirrel. He'll get into everything that I have. I can't have bare ground, and everything has to be raised or under netting or screen. Now this is the hepatica. These are lovely little things in the shape of the hepatica. This is number 5. This screen number 5. These are found in dry wood. And the hepatica. Again, the seed is quite early. It's just sowing the seed out. The division is rather easy for them. You just feather them apart. And do it after you flower. Do it after flower and before lock up and before freeze up. And you should have a pretty good go with it. My duff, my topsoil, my potting mix, it's compost. And in the last few years, I've been gathering seaweed, and I've just been letting to dry out because there's all sorts of little insects hopping around in the seaweed. I just throw it out on a concrete patio, and I have a little extra mix into the seed. I use no chemicals. I have no chemicals on my property whatsoever. I have a flotilla of insects that come in. And Gary mentioned that honeysuckle moth or honeybird moth, strange beast, but yes, I had a leaf cutter bee one time come in, and I watched him as he nipped out the plant. And I sat with my cup of tea, and he came back, and I thanked him for coming back to my plant. How's that? Another shot coming down into the garden. That would be the hobblebush that Gary had mentioned. The viburnums are a lovely species in the garden. The wild raisin is a viburnum, and they're really beautiful for fall cover. It's just Labrador teas. And that's just looking at the screen porch. So I'm on a slope facing full south. And the groundnut, the native people would gather them as Indian potatoes. They would taste like a turnip. It's our late fall flowering, and I find the blossom smells like cinnamon, and it's one of our rare brown flowers, native indigenous to this province. And that's just an overview. It's just sort of a cluster. In the back top picture would be the Bill Thorpe walking trail. That's the footpath that takes you to the north side of the bridge. And in about another 2 months, I won't be able to see that. Hopefully it's 2 months. I hope we don't miss the season of spring. Here we are, the Erythronium americanum. This is the fawn lily, the trout lily, the deer lily. These are wonderful little erythronium. These come very easy from seed. Again, but they do come from seed, but I find more from corms. The corm, if you can dig these up and transplant them out, but you've got to set the corm at least 3 inches plus into your biomass or your planting bed. I've dug these in my garden before, and the corms would be down 6+ inches. It's amazing how a corm moves itself into a deeper depth within the garden. Nature in itself doesn't need me in my backyard. The plants don't want me there because they do well on their own. And again, it's just to enjoy and just watch nature at her best, even in an artificial garden, in which mine is. It's just fake things. It's just plastic, perpetual care. That's sort of a horticultural racism, and I apologize for that. This is the Celandine poppy. And again, just a Papyrifera family. It's again, just a typical poppy plant. The seed is being erected. It's being set for seed. Again, just feather it apart, put it in a pot, and I cover it with shade or a screen and label it and what time of the year you did it, so you have something to go back to. Dutchman breech, another one. These are very small corms. They almost sit on the top of the ground, and they're almost visible with the naked eye when you can see the pine needles around for a little bit of duff covering. Just don't bury the corms too deep, but they're almost a reddish when they sit naked to the sunlight. They're wonderful just pretty. What do we got here? We have some violas. Now the viola pubescens is the yellow one. This is not the yellow. And I have the tree on the left. It's a blue spruce. It came through the front door from the Girl Guides about 20 years ago. It's just a wonderful little thing. I think I'm losing it. It's becoming stretched where it is. Partridge berry, Michella repens. These go well with stoloniferas, laying the plant out in a bed, and just between the nodes, it's just cutting the where between the nodes, and you don't sever it, but just open it to the ground, pin it in place. You have to have it pinned. Again, label it. I'm sorry, you've got to keep notes. You've got to keep notes, and just leave it for a year, and come back the following year and just lift up on the outer side of your cutting and just feather it. And if there's a little resistance, then it has taken root. Then just go above that and you'll have yourself another plant. No seed, just it's called layering, another form of propagation within this horticultural industry. There's also mounding, like some trees like a willow are very good for mounding. It's just you bury the stem of the tree. You're digging like a 4-foot hole and you're dropping the whole plant in, but yet you're exposing the inner bark along the trunk of the tree, and come spring, just bring it out and just massacre it up, and you've got another good load of willows. The white snowdew, this is Antonaria parlini. These are pussy toes. This is a narrow, sort of a ground cover, except for the inflorescence. That might be a foot high. Comes well, does well, it grows very good. It doesn't like to be exposed in the winter. And if you're ever going to design a native garden, make sure where the snow lies and blows and it remains. If the ground is open through the winter, be aware of what you're going to set in there. It may not like it at all. The Antonaria needs to have a little bit of snow cover. Clintonia, the blue bead. There's very rare blue in nature, not a lot of blue. Again, these are the seeds that need to be sown very quickly. The Clintonia, the acetea, the red baneberry, the white baneberry, they need to be sown as soon as you break that pulp. They don't like to be dried out. Again, things are in a pot. Sometimes on the top, I'll add some perlite or vermiculite. I mean, as Gary said, soil is very precious. When my pot goes out of the yard, I've lost my soil. Jack in the pulpit, Mr. Jack. Apparently, if the soil changes its texture, its moisture, its light control, these things change sex. Right now, this plant's happy because it's in a pot. It's well fed, no chemicals. Keep it well watered. And pots, they have, of course, drainage holes, and within a natural bog there is the saturation of, but these like to be able to breathe a little bit on that. Now jacks will change. I don't know why they call it jack. If it's fertilized, it's Jill, and there is Jill. That's the seed, and these come very easy from seed. This will change texture. This will go like a purple and a red, very lovely in the nature setting. Yes, the Sarracenia purpurea, the pitcher plant. The indigenous people would use the dried, I guess, the inflorescence. They would drain the water out, of course, and they would use it as a drinking vessel. You don't want to be drinking bugs. This is one of our insecticide I'm skipping here. It eats bugs. The hairs within the plant point downward, and you might be able to see a couple little smudge spots in the lower left. That's a few bugs being digested within this cauldron of death. Now I use these. I can't get seed with these. There's a worm inside the blossom. This is my educational plant. Yes, I broke the laws. I went onto a property that was being extirpated. I dug this out. This is education only. I don't sell pitcher plants because I can't get them from that point. I find them difficult, Gary. And there's the flower. There's the flower. Geez, it's kind of neat. You can see the little tub. It's a little baby bathtub I get at a dollar store or something. And there's my other nursery pots packed around. The witch hazel. Yes, the Himalayas Virginia. Now, I have to cover, you can see the little bit of the yellow blossom. I have to cover that with a tea bag, empty tea bag, of course, because it's like a double shotgun barrel on those puppies, and they'll shoot out, because the idea in nature is to get the offspring away from the mother plant, less competition. So it's like the seed is collected within the empty tea bag, and then I just plant the seed out. Now I have a witch hazel that's like 40 foot tall. It's in a wonderful spot. It's a real knockout. It blooms in October, November. No insect problems, not at all. Squirrels don't like those, so that's okay. The red baneberries, and again on the left, again, one of the spring bloomers can be poisonous. The Acetea family, the red and the white, Gary had a much better picture than I had. They can be poisonous. That's from the ranunculus family. And the false Solomon seal, Manatheum, these spread. Not invasive, they don't take over. None of my plants are deep rooted. I don't have tap roots like a bur oak or whatnot. These are very easy manipulated and to move around. But give the red baneberry some room. You'll be surprised. Chicory, the chicorum. This is the blue sailors. These are used substitute for coffee. You take an awful lot of plant to make a good cup of coffee. So go to your ubiquitous shop and maybe you'll win your big fortune for your cup. But these are, again, the blue with the baneberries, excuse me, the chicory and the clintonia. This is the, what is this? What is this, David? Oh, blank. We went blank. That's okay. That's okay. How do you know what's going on here? Anyway, that's okay. It's just, now these, to me, it has like a little halo. It's, again, you could label as maybe putting these in your lawn. I think these would produce much better for you in the lawn because they would give you a much higher seed content and a higher seed capacity. I think this would be really nice in the lawn. Again, that's that little halo effect, and I don't know, I like it. Now, here's back to the viburnums again. We're looking at mid-August here, coming, or June. Again, with the insects, not changing its color yet, but still they're lovely in the landscape, and it just gives a 5 minutes already. Dear Julie, I thought you invited me. Marsh marigold. Marsh marigold, again, I have mine just indented into the property, and the plant sits a little low, so we get water from the skies and above, and it self-waters for me. I have no irrigation. I save water off of the roof. I have pails and plastic pails and garbage cans saving my water. The butterwort, this is another insect eating. This came in with a seed. You can just see the pepper on the leaf. It will enfold within itself, again, digesting the plant. The spikenard, I like these puppies. This is the Aurelia racemosa. These are massive. They'll go from 0 to like 4 feet and just expand out in its inflorescence, and it takes up a lot of landscape area. I just tie it back and it's wonderful. Rose twisted stalk. This is a lily family. If you ever see those little red lily beetles, they squeeze really good between thumb and forefinger. They will desiccate your plant. So it's integrated pest management that kind of keep things going. On the right is some irrigation pipe. I used to have a little alpine house. They're a lot of work. I could never do what Gary does. They're A greenhouse, a cold frame, it's a totally different environment. It can happen within minutes. And this would be, what is this again? This is the rose twisted stalk with its seed. The fleshy seed needs to be cleaned. You can keep these over in the winter, but you got to get the flesh out and dry the seed, and again set them out. Canada lily, Lilium canadensis. These are a knockout. These come really easy from the corm. You dig this puppy up. That's a nice horticultural term, puppy. Lilium canadensis, the Canada lily, and you remove the bulbets off and just plant them out again, row on row. This is just a little backdrop behind a pail. And on the right, you'll see an umbrella. That's my movable shade. You can get these at a yard sale for $5. It's a pretty cheap shade. I can move these around with the sun. Mechanopsis, it's from the seed exchange. They come from Himalaya. I don't sell these or grow. This was just a blue. And that's a part of the nursery, looking in my pots and whatever. Spreading dogbane. This is from the milkweed family. I've had monarchs hit this more than I've seen them on my milkweed plant, right up through the setting on the front of the house. I'm ending up here, Julie, this poor little guy, this little bat, the brown-nosed bat. I opened up one of my umbrellas one day and the poor little chappie fell out and he landed on that Rubus recurvulata. That must have stung a little bit. And I haven't seen bats in ages. And this little guy, I just sort of left him. I put the shade back down over and kept him. And that's just what nature brings. And be mindful of what you do. Just don't try to change the landscape too much, because the plants will let you know what you're doing. Look and listen to the plants and be aware and make a note of any change. These plants can be moved, but move at the right time, collect your seed at the right time. And again, it's just being mindful of your labels and making your notes and getting hold of me and whoever else is in this industry, because it's not competition. It's not about making the dollar bill. It's about the interest in what we are losing at such an astronomical rate. The north side of this town in Fredericton, it is just sad what's happening. I don't mean to pick on, but we're losing a lot of once was. I guess. Julie, how's that?
Yes, that's great. Right
Okay.
on the ball, right there. Good job, David.
I can go home now?
Not yet, not yet.
Okay, I'm joking.
Thank you
I'm
so
joking.
much.
I'm
Thank you so
joking.
much for that presentation. There's a lot of action in the chat, lots of questions. So
Okay,
I'll pass the mic off to Serge. So we'll have 5-minute questions and then we'll have a 10-minute break. We just want to make sure people are moving, not sitting still for quite a while, because it can get tiresome.
Okay, Julie, I'm here.
All right, Salge?
Yes, thanks. Thanks so much, David. Lots of comments, thoughts, and questions, some of which I think we'll keep for the discussion later on, but there was a question about ethical seed collection. So where can I go to collect seeds, what type of land, and obviously not collecting a large percentage. Do you have maybe under 5 minutes to talk a little bit about that? I know that doesn't give you a lot of time.
Well, no, I can shorten this up pretty good. Ethical seed, of course, you have to be mindful where you are. Don't go on private land. Ask the homeowner. And if you come to this person's property, just don't pick seed that is by the side of the road. Get out of your vehicle, keep your coffee cup in the car, and walk into the field and collect from selective areas, because you may get more of a mature and older seed throughout your selection, and then mix them all together and then plant them out. And again, where were you? Put it down, label it. I'm sorry about this labeling business, but if you come to a small patch of seed and there are only like maybe 3 plants, I think I used to go by the 30%. I'm going like, just take 2 or 3 or 4 off. Don't rape everything out just to put something in your backyard that may not even survive. Try it out, but just be selective of where you grow and don't be greedy. And just again, it's just the seed and the time of the seed collection. Now I find that you can get a lot of gardening books out there. I just want to put a note out for that. There's beautiful pictures like what Gary had on today, but a lot of the gardening books don't tell you the time of propagation, and that's the trick. Now I was going for a page here on one of the plants. I still can't find what I wanted to talk on. I have some loose papers here on seed and what to start. And I'm willing to share that with other people, of course. But seed, it's fun, it's cheap, but there's a growing seed also. And it is the time of the seed, time of the season that you want to collect.
Correct. There was a question there, and just in fact on that was, do you collect seeds in the spring? Would they be considered to have been cold or to have been stratified? Making that information available is something we could certainly help out with as well. And as you say, lots of resources available for that.
Well,
timing seems important.
For me it is. For me it is, because I like to get the stuff that's fresh. Basically, it's been set for a reason. It's been through nature's calendar herself to get things going, to have seed drop off. And if you wait to the spring, the seed possibly could become chilled. It could become frozen. It could become damaged. The branch could become damaged. I like fall and setting them out. Now you can stratify seed and put them in your fridge, but again, it depends on, of course, each individual plant is quite different. But no, I like going out in the fall. Now, I do get a lot of my seed from my own garden. And it's just with a little 3/4 acre. I mean, everything is packed. I usually just let the seed fall on top of the nursery pot. And again, there's not a lot of intervention. There's not a lot of putting too many brackets in the equation. You're going to start to have problems. I like to just keep it simple and just, again, let the seed develop, let it fall off where it may. Like the trilliums, the little seed capsule will land on the ground, and every seed will just germinate through that capsule. It's quite amazing.
Yeah, but I'm listening to the monsieur though.
And thanks, Gary, for adding a good insight there on ethical seed collection.
Oh, yes.
Robin Wall Kimmer.
Well, this whole game. See,
in the chat there.
May I interject on something here?
Sure. I think that'll be the last minute, I believe.
Okay.
That's great, David.
Pliny the Elder once said, "There's nothing more important than the commerce of plants." I think what's going to happen now, and I have to be quite leery on this, if people are really looking for these natives, these antiques, these relics, people may start heading into the woods and digging up. That's my fear. There was a gentleman in the province of Quebec. He was caught with 300 wild onions, the ramps. They're a rare plant in Quebec, and he got 300 in his back pocket. There's things that we have to be aware of. You can't have a policeman behind every tree out there, but there has to be some ethical. And I don't know how you're going to get that through some people. Human nature is very hard to digest. I don't want to be ignorant here. I have a great respect for people who run this, and I have a great respect for my neighbor, but I think wild crafting is going to pose a problem down the road. Thank you. I'm sorry if I've taken up here.
No, you just finished on time. Perfect.
Okay,
Thank you,
Julie.
David.
Thank you, Julie. Yes.